All right. Well, welcome to today's episode and the first episode of Dreams Unveiled, which is our new podcast to interpret dreams and help people through their dream life. We all dream, and a lot of the dreams that we all dream probably between 5 and 7 dreams a night, I think is what research shows. A little fact, you don't have to just be in REM sleep to dream, but most of the ones we remember are out of REM sleep. And when we are in REM sleep, dreaming, our muscles are paralyzed, so we cannot act out the dream. We can only watch it in our mind. So that's just a very cool fact. Dreams, a lot of times, are remnants of our waking life. And anxiety is the emotion most experienced in our dreams. So it's really important for us to understand. It's almost like our our brain needs to process and heal while it sleeps, which we know this to be true anyway. So it is going through and looking at things and trying to have some understanding and process through things of our that we did not fully take care of in our waking time. So with that said, we're always going to be looking now for dreams. If you go to my website, dawnw.com, and it's DAUN, and hit the tab for Dreams Unveiled, you will see a fillable PDF form, and you could actually sign up and um, have your dream interpreted. If you're not going to be in person, you could be on Zoom. There's a number of ways to do this. That's fine, but understand that a dream cannot be interpreted well without the dreamer. I want to introduce you to my husband behind the camera, Bill Whittaker, this was his idea, and he is participating in this with me because
Hello.
because it really stings when someone has a great idea and makes you do all the work. And then, and my very great friend Karen, who had a dream, and we're going to be talking about her dream.
Hello.
So, Karen, what I'd like to ask is if you could just go through and just give a rundown on your dream, and we'll see where it takes us.
Got some notes here that I wrote down when I woke up this morning. Many of my dreams occur at where I used to work in the emergency department at a hospital. And this particular dream involves my friend my very dear friend who passed away 3 years ago. Her and I met at the hospital. And she we were both picking up a 4-hour shift, 3 to 7, and Steph showed up, and I saw her when I was running to the locker room, but she didn't say hello or even smile. Often when I see her in my dreams, she's not herself. Steph was a very vivacious, energetic, loving, funny person, and in my dreams, she's very flat. I hadn't seen her in a while, and I started to ask her if she wanted to go out for a drink after work. And then I realized that she already had plans, and then somehow she had plans with this couple friend of hers, and they were waiting at the bar for her, but somehow the bar was in the hospital. It's often dreams don't make sense, but I saw them sitting at the bar, and I felt a little hurt that she hadn't invited me because I hadn't seen her in so long. So then it moves to when Steph was talking to someone about how her legs were healing. She had shorts on, and she had multiple wounds and scars, and her legs looked disfigured, and she was complaining like she had been in the hospital and her legs didn't heal right. And I remember wondering what happened there because it looked like she had like skin grafts or something. Like her legs were just very disfigured. And I tried to approach her about why she wasn't talking to me, or why she didn't seem to want to be my friend anymore. And And then I kind of got sidetracked by the fact that I had not read the assignment correctly, and I had missed a few of my patients on my assignment. And I was trying to look at the assignment, and I couldn't read it. And I asked somebody to read it for me to tell me what my assignment was, and they told me, and I had missed 3 patients. So I was very anxious and upset that I had to go assess these people and figure out what they needed, give them their medications and stuff. And I realized I wouldn't be able to go out for a drink with staff, even if she was to invite me. Let's see. This doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So the dream kind of ended with me wanting to confront her, to ask her why she didn't seem like she wanted to talk to me, because she was my closest friend before she died. And I woke up before I got an answer. And I had a really tight feeling in my chest when I woke up. But I think that's about it. I don't know if I missed anything. I know I talked to you about it before, so it's still kind of fresh.
Thank you for sharing that dream. And I want to note for everybody that Karen had indicated previously to me that the part of the dream that took place at the hospital is a reoccurring dream that she has frequently. And I want to take a moment to just talk about the idea of reoccurring dreams. A reoccurring dream is really something relatively significant to us, and it definitely represents something usually that is unresolved, that is anxiety provoking. So when you have reoccurring dreams, they're definitely something to take seriously, because you have this great measuring system. If it gets resolved, whatever the issues are, or if there have been changes made in your life, then the great part about it is the reoccurring dream stops. So that's not a life sentence for a reoccurring dream. It's not the only reason we have them, but it is the predominant reason that we have something reoccurring. So if we just take a look at that part first, the idea that she had an assignment, and if one of the things she did indicate is she was having trouble, reading the assignment, reading what she was supposed to do. And it's important to understand that although in a dream, the part of your brain that is very helpful with visual processing and emotional processing is very alive and well, other parts of your brain are suppressed and not quite so active. It doesn't mean you can't read in a dream. It means that it's unlikely. And typically people that can read in dreams are people that read for a living, or are writers or authors, and that have a lot to do with that kind of thing. But most of the time, that part of the brain is sleeping while we're dreaming, or it's much less active. So that leaves visual stuff, and that's why she could see the words, but she couldn't read it. It didn't make any sense to her. And everything emotional. And the primary emotion in any dream is anxiety. Even when you're having a really happy dream, most of the time, it's the most prevalent emotion in our dreams. So just a couple of little facts about dreams that may be helpful. But that anxiety dream has been reoccurring. So one of the things, as Karen is my friend, that we're going to probably talk about past this episode is what are some things maybe that were left unresolved. And I am going to ask her right now, because she does have, some thoughts on this. The leaving, she left the nursing field rather abruptly, and that may have a lot to do with that. Although she does recall that she has had some of these reoccurring dreams, but just not as frequently prior to COVID. She was unwilling to take the COVID shot and left nursing as a result of it. So with that said, it's worth looking at all of that and getting that cleaned up and put away. So there could be a goal. She doesn't want to have that part of the dream anymore. And that can show some growth and change and resolution in past things. So then we have this whole other part about her friend Steph. And Steph had passed away. And Karen, I know this is really sensitive, so I'm just going to ask, do you want to share about her passing, or do you want me to share what you've already?
Yeah, I can just briefly say she had that was getting ready for bed one night, and she got up to get a drink of water. She had a brain bleed and fell down the stairs. She ended up needing to have part of her skull removed and was in a coma for 2 months. And she fell in October, and she died December 21st, so just over 2 months. And I was never able to see her or say goodbye to her. Actually, the last time that we saw each other, we went shopping for my wedding dress. I was getting married again, and she was supposed to be at the wedding and helped me pick out the dress. And actually, I received flowers that she sent after her death, which was crazy. But so yeah, there's a lot there. Not being able to say goodbye, and it was during COVID, so I couldn't go to the hospital to visit her or anything like that. So it was a really stressful period, and I never, I wanted to see her. I wanted to pray over her. I wanted to hold her hand, and I wasn't allowed to do that, or partly because I hadn't received the vaccine. By the time she got home, it was just family that was able to see her.
So right there, I mean, that shows a lot of things that keep coming up. And one of the things that, Karen, that you shared with me is you frequently dream about stuff.
Yes.
And so what does that by itself mean? Well, it means she was her absolute best friend, and she loved her friend very dearly, and she was a big part of her life. But also, some of this unresolved, I mean, things happen that created some really bad feelings. So let's take a look at the dream. Stephanie is flat in the dream. Her affect is flat. And the reason I would say that her affect is flat is because it is a recognition that she is not with us. And it also may be a recognition that that there was some like conflict, or at least a lack of closeness that was previously there, which could be obviously this has nothing to do with Stephanie. This has to do with Karen's feelings about how her brain is processing this. So it may very well be because Karen recognized that she could not be there towards the end. So, in a nutshell, the flatness is probably a reflection of a distance that Karen was experiencing between them, and it really experiencing could be just really in her mind, could be how things ended up. She couldn't go to the hospital. She really didn't get much closure. She could not go and be with the family in the end, because it was during her COVID. There was still pause at the hospital and everything else. So all of those things could have been part of that. Now, one thing I want to note here while we're going through this is I'm sharing what I expect. Karen's here with me because I could be wrong. Dreams are subjective. If Karen were to say, no, I really don't think, that does not fit my narrative, that does not resonate with me, then it means that I'm probably wrong. It's really important to understand that. you cannot interpret somebody else's dream in a vacuum without that person. I mean, if somebody comes to you and says, "Oh yeah, I have this dream that I'm being chased by these bad guys," and that's like the extent of the dream. There are things you can really know. Very likely anxiety. Um, well, that's really what you would know. It's very likely anxiety. But any other details, the person's emotion, what's going on in their waking time around this, all of that uh, contribute to what we have in our dreams. So even the faces and the people that we see in our dreams are none of them are total strangers. You may not remember seeing different faces and different people, but everybody in a dream is somebody that you have had some kind of contact with in your life. So so anyway, back to the flatness. That's does that make sense to you? Does that
Yes.
seem to
Yeah.
fit pretty well?
Yes.
And so the other thing notable is that the friends that Steph was going to go have drinks with
Mm-hmm.
actually live in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
And so it's not like they're people that she was interacting with daily like you who worked in in the same hospital as her and had developed this friendship. Um,
I
so
met them after her death, actually.
did you?
Yeah, we do a remembrance walk for her, and that's when I met them. I had not met them. I had only known of them from her talking about them.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you got to meet them. I
Yeah,
really am.
yeah.
So in the dream, though, I think that their representation or their purpose was to actually your feeling of being distanced from her, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she's going out with friends that live hundreds of miles away,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to um, as opposed to hanging out with you or even inviting you to the event. And then I think clearly, especially with her being passed, the part of that reoccurring dream then takes place of you didn't get all your assignments, you couldn't go and do anything with her anyway, really goes to show, um, in your mind, the anxiety of, that carelessness, the stress of having to make sure you're extremely careful and on top of things and paying attention to everything and how all of that plays in. So, Bill, you're going to have to do some research and make sure that Rhode Island is really hundreds of miles away.
We just had a visitor enter the room. Who's over on your side of the chair.
That's okay. My catzilla is hanging out with us right now. So,
And what about the leg wounds? Do you think that's just because of what happened to her while she was in the coma, or?
oh yeah, that actually the leg wounds. I'm so glad that you brought that up because I think that is really significant. I mean, your description is she had a brain bleed, and then she fell down the stairs, and so which implies, I think that is a visual of kind of that whole experience. That the wounds aren't healing, the hospital couldn't help. Right, I think it was really just a strong representation of her death and her inability to move out of that state. And like I said, it has nothing really to do with Stephanie. It has to do with your recognition of that because that I think has been just obviously you're grieving the loss of your best friend. And I think we all know grief. Grief. There's no time limit on grief. Grief comes in waves, and we experience it for all of our life. And the more you love people, the more you have grief for their loss. But I think what is extremely important is that finality that is really related to you not being able to be a part of all of that part of her life and that during that very critical time. And I think that's something that has been really hard that you really need to process through. So now, do you have any other questions about the dream? I mean, does this make sense to you?
It does make sense. I guess my only question would be, how do you process it? I mean, I talk about it, I pray about it. How do you process these things to stop the type of dreams? I mean, I'm happy to have dreams about her because I kind of feel like I see her again, but, it would be nice to have some resolution, the dreams would be more enjoyable or I don't have the recurring anxiety in the dream, you know, where I wake up kind of not able to take a full breath.
Well, I think, and that is really a good question. Where do we go from here? Because you do need to go somewhere, because clearly this is very painful. So the first thing I would say is we need to look at the hospital dream as separate than the Steph dream. And the interesting thing is you had both of them co-occurring,
Yeah.
even though you've typically had one or the other
Right.
regularly. But my understanding is the dreams that you have about your friend occur in different environments and different
Yes.
situations. So the idea that this kind of fed into a reoccurring dream that really is kind of linked to anxiety makes me question what's lately in your life, maybe in the last few days, maybe yesterday, was there anything in your waking time that you were feeling bad about, that you were thinking about any of this stuff, that you were having regrets? That may be, even if it wasn't seemed unrelated to this, is there something where you were processing some regret over?
I can't think of anything, the last few days. I mean, her daughter, her grandkids are always on my heart, you know. So I just saw her daughter. Her husband. Today's actually his birthday, so I know that that's part of it.
Okay.
You know, just seeing, them go through events and holidays and birthdays without her.
Okay. And my understanding is you become very close to her daughter and
Yes.
their
Yeah.
family. And when did you guys all go out to celebrate Jim's birthday? Happy birthday, Jim, by the way. So that you're right. That may be that may be there to show you, um, that there are still some things there.
Yeah.
And the truth is, you know, having dreams about stuff, you're probably always going to, in some capacity or another. You're even just saying, I like kind of seeing her in my dreams, and they're not all like this.
Right.
But this one, I think, just really got coupled with a celebration that her family participated, her daughter's family participated in, and probably at least at some point you were regretful that she wasn't there and being part of that.
Yeah.
And so, and then with her son-in-law's birthday today, and all of that. So I think, her husband, okay. So, so I think that really has a lot to do with that. But the hospital one, definitely, that is one that probably you don't need to have anymore. And just so as far as the audience knows, her, we're talking about this reoccurring dream, that a situation, once again, no closure, very quick and abrupt. Literally, she wakes up one day and her career as she knew it was done. And it's not a matter of that, she has, that she is just devastated over this over and over again. She really loves her job now. She's, not to put words in your mouth, but she's doing really well. But sometimes we don't always recognize that we are carrying things. We just don't recognize it. We're busy. We live our lives. We work. We hang out with our family, and so we don't recognize that is, those are problems. So sometimes the dream helps you to kind of make that connection where your waking life is connected to your dream life, that you could say, well, there are some aspects of this that, maybe I miss it really a lot. Maybe I have some regret that, and it's not going to change the circumstances, but we can change the way that we are framing the circumstances, and really recognizing and healing from things that have been very hurtful about these experiences. Anything else, faithful cameraman? Are we thinking about anything else?
I don't have anything to add.
Okay. So, anyway, this will conclude this episode, and I hope you found this useful. I really think that talking about our dreams can really help us to live a higher quality of life and really having this understanding. So here's one last factoid that I'll share with you just because it's really fun. Used to be, when I was growing up, most dreams were in black and white. And it doesn't mean every dream you had was in black and white, but a much higher percentage of people dreamt in black and white. Nowadays, that's changed. We've had younger generations, it's less than 5% have black and white dreams, and most dreams are in color. And there has been some research, this isn't conclusive, but there has been research that shows that it may very likely have been determined when colored TVs were introduced into your homes. So that there has been research on that. So we'll leave with that fun fact. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you have sweet dreams.